Good evening. Welcome to the April 28th, 2021 Climate Smart Kingston Commission meeting. My name is Julie Noble and I am the chair and also here representing the Parks and Recreation Department. With us tonight, we have Commissioners Kevin McAvoy, Maya Nemisto, Roberto Rivera, Dan Smith, Karen Sullivan, Cal Truman, ex officio members, myself, and representing the engineering department, we have Ellie Gartenstein. And we also have two guests tonight, Dan Quisnell and Joey Lynn. Welcome everyone. I'm gonna call the meeting to order. It is 5:04 p.m. Since we do have two guests, I'd like to welcome any public comment. If you'd like to make any official public comment, Dan or Joey Lynn, do you want to make any official public comment for the record? No? No, okay. All right, so then I'm going to ask if there's any modifications to the agenda. Okay, hearing none. Review and approval of the April 2021 minutes. Hi, Melissa. Let's see. Does anyone have any comments? Changes? Issues? I just noted on the second page under number 5. 5 lines up from the bottom of that section.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4,
There's
5.
a sentence, the line itself starts with the word accomplishments, but there's a sentence that starts annual climate plan can also be included. Do you see that, Kevin?
Yeah, looks like we're.
I don't know what that means. Do you do an annual climate plan?
I'm not sure. It sounds like a note that never got finished as we moved on to something else.
Yeah, Cal, this part is referencing you, so I don't know if this means anything to you because it's talking about the Maritime Museum.
Sorry, can you say it again? I was getting a message from my housemate.
So in the, do you have the minutes in front of you?
I have the minutes. Let me open them.
Okay.
I saw that there was something about the museum. What was the question about that bit?
Well, there's a sentence that says annual climate plan can also be included as well as photos and pictures. That doesn't make
Right.
sense.
So the idea that we had talked about was having as like an example of climate smart community work in general, say like, here's what the city of Kingston is working on as a climate smart community. But the more worked on that, the more it looked like maybe not that interesting for a casual museum attendee. And so I scrapped that, but it will have the place to put in photos and Serena wrote and I like edited the little like 100 words, like here's what the commission does. And if you want to get involved, here's how to do it. So.
Okay.
That clarify? What needed to be clarified?
That's great clarification. I guess that means that the minutes are accurate.
Yes, they're accurate.
Okay.
Which is why I didn't flag it. Yeah, no, they're right.
Okay. I got it right the first time. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
My other comment is under number 9. And Ellie, you'll have to confer on this one. So number 9 is energy stretch code. And in line number 1, 2, 3, 4, where it starts, Ellie indicated that the substantial renovation standard is, it says 50% of all building systems and subsystems, but I think it should say more than 50% of a building subsystem.
Well, it's not more than 50% of one singular building subsystem. Substantial renovation is defined by 50% or more of the entire subsystem. So if you're replacing 50% of your floor, the floor counts as the subsystem, but that doesn't mean you have to follow stretch code because it's not 50% of the entire subsystem.
Right.
Because I looked up the code that you sent me and it says substantial renovation means the replacement of more than 50% of a building subsystem within any consecutive 12-month period.
Yeah, I was under the assumption that subsystem was defined as the entire subsystem of the building.
Well,
But
so-
we can get clarification on that from Steve Knox if we need it.
Because the second line says subsystem means a building assembly or building set of units made up of various components that serve a specific function, included but not limited to exterior walls, windows, doors, roofs, ceilings, floors, lighting, piping, ductwork, insulation, HVAC system, equipment or components, electrical appliances, and plumbing appliances. Maybe I should just send this language to Kevin and he can put the language in directly.
Yeah, because to me that definition really
Okay.
sounds like the subsystem is all of those components put together. I mean, I'm not an expert on building codes or anything like that, so I think it should be definitely defined by somebody who is. Steve Knox, maybe Kevin, I don't know. But it's
Okay.
definitely 50% or more of the subsystem. However, ECCC, New York State defines subsystem.
Okay,
I think way I handled that for the minutes was the following clause after that, and that the specifics and time frame are covered in the New York State 2020 ECCC text.
Yeah, so in the laws and rules meeting,
Right.
Steve Knox indicated that that definition is kind of, up to the judgment of the building, people of like his department. I don't know. That being said, to me, subsystem is the whole thing, but we should probably get clarification on that.
Do we want to amend the minutes? That's the question, I guess.
I
well, I just don't know that because you state that Ellie said that the substantial renovation standard is 50% of all building systems. And
That was my understanding.
Right.
Yeah, that it wasn't just one subsystem. It was like, yeah.
Yeah, because to me, it being one subsystem wouldn't make any sense because like there's a whole section on doors, right? Say you have 2 doors in your house and you replace one of them, that's technically 50% of that subsystem. But that's like a really small renovation to be considered like substantial, in the eyes of ECCCNYS. So I don't know. I mean, let me pull up the minutes. I don't know if you want to amend the minutes.
I don't disagree. I just don't know that we should be interpreting that. I think that, like you said, that should be interpreted by Steve Knox. So
Yeah.
Okay, just take it out and put the specifics and time frame are covered in the ECCC text to be determined by building safety or not determined by to be determined by building safety.
Yeah, I'll call Steve tomorrow. I gotta talk to him about some other things anyway, so.
But how about it is believed that when in doubt, use the conditional. Does that
I don't know,
sound
I'm
all
not a
right?
voting member. I don't know.
Is believed.
We
Yeah,
understand it
so
to
we're not making
mean-
a representation. That's what I'm trying to, I don't want to make a representation if in the minutes, if we're not making a representation. If we don't know, then we just, it's information and belief. We just can believe anything we want. Right?
That's a good workaround, Kevin.
Yeah, well, that's a standard workaround. Actually, that's what you do when you're lost. Right, okay, which may be determined by building safety, because it could be the corp council comes in and determines it too. We don't know. Yeah, okay. Does that sound all right?
yes, that is why we have you here, Kevin. You are a fantastic minute taker. All
Okay.
right. Any other comments, changes, concerns, or issues with the March 24th, 2021 minutes? If not, I need a motion to accept as amended. Yes, as amended. Yes. Sorry. Do I have a motion?
I move.
Cal, can I get a second?
Second.
Karen,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thumbs up or an eye? Okay, anyone opposed or abstaining? Very good. Motion carried. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, everyone, for taking a look at those. All right, we are going to move on to old business, and the first on the agenda is the Green Fleet Policy Review. I'm going to pass it over to Ellie, who is going to walk us through what has come forth to date and the draft Green Fleet Policy.
Could you share your screen, Julie? Because I'm on my personal computer and I don't have Word on it. So when I open the green fleet policy, it's just a structural nightmare. But while Julie's doing that, green fleet policy is one of the actions recommended in the 2020 Climate Action Plan. It was started by Sean Coster, and I've kind of just been going through it, gave it a little facelift, added some additional sections, amended the language, whatnot, to update it to 2021. This is going to be an internal policy mandating that we just encourage a green fleet. So any light or medium duty vehicles will the priority be given to purchasing electric, plug-in electric or battery electric. And oh yeah, we're on goals here. I'll just go through as Julie's going through.
Okay, also just 1 second, Kevin, Betta is on the line. She is not easily connecting with audio. She can hear us, but we can't hear her. She is here though.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Ellie.
All right, so starting with goals, in the 2020 Climate Action Plan, the goal was set that by 2020, we have 10% of all non-exempt vehicles purchased by the city would be green vehicles. Looking at the vehicle inventory that was completed last year, that number is up to 14%, which is great. So we've exceeded our goal, and it's going to help us set a new goal. In the 2020 Climate Action Plan, it is indicated that by 2030, we want 100% of new vehicles that are non-exempt in the city to be green vehicles, which sounds like a great goal to me. I'm sure, going forward with the 2030 Climate Action Plan, Cadmus will have other recommendations, and we can, if necessary, update this. But that is the 2030 goals from 2020 Climate Action Plan. So then,
Right. Exempt here just is like dump trucks and stuff, right?
yeah, exempt vehicles are heavy duty vehicles listed under exempt. They're listed under exemption because currently there really are no green alternatives to those. Additionally, they serve pretty important functions. Ambulances need to go really fast, and bulldozers need to work in the snow, and these functions are kind of hard to do in like a battery electric plug-in. Also, there's no such thing as a plug-in bulldozer right now. So, but this policy, it is indicated in the policy that it'll be revisited every year with changing technology. So if that ever changes, we can go back to exemptions. Pretty much in guidelines, it says that we're gonna, operate our fleet as energy efficiently as possible, that we're going to review any new vehicles that are, requested to be purchased by any department, and, go for hybrid electric or battery electric whenever possible. It also indicates the role of the fleet manager is a role of the environmental specialist 1, which is my position. And I'm going to be the person that's going to be handling all the purchase orders and stuff like that. If a department wants a new vehicle, they have to fill out a form, send it to me, and then I'll send it elsewhere. So then we go down to exemptions, heavy duty vehicles, emergency vehicles, fire trucks, pretty much what we just talked about. If a department is gonna buy a new vehicle, a new, light or medium duty vehicle, and they don't want a hybrid electric vehicle, they have to come up with some really good reasoning, and then it's up to the mayor pretty much to decide whether or not he's going to allow that. Vehicle acquisition, it's pretty much the way it is now. So the department head goes to the purchasing department, or the Brian Waltman, who's the purchasing officer, I think his title is. They put out a mini bid, and then they get the vehicle. This kind of just adds an additional step where they initiate a request with the fleet manager, who is me. And then guidelines, pretty much we are going to be purchasing hybrid electric vehicles, hybrids or battery electrics, whenever possible. And then what else is in here? Yeah, we've pretty much gone over all of that. Oh yeah, they're all gonna go to DPW and get upfitted, and the mayor's final approval and all this stuff that's already pretty much standard. This section is a section on fleet inventorying, which is something that we already do, but this policy mandates it. And then every year by March 31st, we're going to have a full inventory of the city's fleet that is going to be accessible to the public. This is already something that we keep. This just mandates that it has to be done and it has to be, made available by March 31st. Fuel inventory is something that we also already do through a software called Fuel Master Plus. Pretty much anytime a city employee wants to put fuel in their car, they punch in their ID number, the vehicle number, and the odometer, and then they can fill up their vehicle at the DPW pump station. All that information goes directly to a software that I have on my computer, which is Fuel Master Plus, and it pretty much just gives a rundown of all the fuel purchased by each vehicle, by each department, by each user when it's purchased. And so that's something that we already do. I've added in here a small section that's as we're going to report the fuel use every year, which is something that was done last year. It was reported to John Toohey, the city comptroller, and then John Toohey also asked me to report the fuel use a few weeks ago, which I did. So I just added a section in there because I feel like it's something that we should be doing every year, regardless of whether the comptroller asks us for it. And then here is idling reduction. So in addition to the green fleet policy, everybody should have gotten a copy of a draft anti-idling resolution, which we're also going to be talking about after we, run through this green fleet policy. Pretty much, we just want to prohibit idling in the city of Kingston. Currently, idling is prohibited for heavy-duty vehicles for over 5 minutes, and that is something that is enforced by the DEC officers. There are over, I want to say 15 municipalities in New York that have more stringent anti-idling legislation, and we're going to be joining them. Hopefully, we will be joining them. This just mandates that all city employees will follow existing New York State legislation if they're in a heavy duty vehicle, but they will also be following the legislation that we hope to pass, in the coming months, whatever the timeline is for that, which says that they can't idle for more than 10 minutes. That's really important to us because, idling is really bad for the environment, for air pollution, for even traffic safety outside. You don't want somebody idling. It could mess up the flow of traffic, This is also something that I think was an action recommended by Cadmus in the 2020 Climate Action Plan, I believe. Was it?
It was recommended, not by Cadmus, but
not by Cadmus. Yeah. Okay, so that's anti-idling. This is the report to the mayor and the common council that is going to be submitted every year before March 31st for the previous year. And it's kind of like a compressed version of the vehicle inventory report, the fuel inventory report, with a couple other added things. What vehicles were purchased, what type of vehicles were purchased, vehicles that were decommissioned, any documentation that was provided to me or the mayor regarding the fleet, and this clause at the bottom, which is on a per vehicle and per department basis, the type of fuel, fuel cost per mile, miles driven, total cost, and CO2 and greenhouse gas emissions per vehicle and per department. Then we have the vehicle purchase request form, which is actually Appendix A, so the last part of this document. This just says that the purchasing department will have to fill out that form and send it to me. And here we have some definitions. Green vehicle, GVRW is the class of vehicle as defined. I don't know who defines GVWR actually. But it's a weight thing. So a vehicle weighing a certain amount is classified as light duty, a vehicle weighing a certain amount is classified as medium, and then a vehicle over, I think, 8,500 pounds is a heavy duty vehicle. Oh yeah, it's right there, 8,500 pounds. Yeah, applicability applies to everybody. Inquiries can be made to me. And here is our vehicle request form. Now, I think this is something that Sean made. I did not make this form. But
Hmm.
in my eyes, it is good to go. Didn't really need any changes. And then everything is going to be signed off by the mayor. He gets final word on everything. And so that is our green fleet policy. And that is an internal policy that will probably be moved forward after we talk about the anti-idling legislation and after we have had the chance to hopefully bring it to the Common Council, just because it has the anti-idling section in the green fleet policy. And so we want this policy to reflect, you know, existing, you know, regulations in the city. So that's it.
Do you want to go over the resolution for the anti-idling?
Would you want to do the resolution before we, yeah, let's do the resolution now. So this is the resolution. This pretty much says that you can't have a light or medium duty vehicle idling for more than 10 minutes. There are exceptions listed for, you know, traffic conditions, emergency vehicles, vehicles that are required to idle for necessary auxiliary functions, like if you got cargo in the car and they're unloading the car, you know. And there's also an exception listed for a snow emergency, which was at the request of Dan Quisnell, who's on this call with us and is the city parking enforcement. I'm sorry, Dan, I don't know what your actual title is.
Parking supervisor?
Parking supervisor, that's it. Yes, so Dan joined us on the call today. I talked to him and John Toohey about this, and they said that they were fine with it so long as it doesn't include heavy duty vehicles, because it's a hazard to climb up on a heavy duty vehicle and to ticket it. And it was also their request that we put the snow emergency thing in there, because you can't really have idling regulations during a snow emergency. And so the penalty for this is $20, doubles to $40 after 15 days, which is pretty much standard for, you know, violations in the city of Kingston. So the plan would be to get this passed first and then to move forward with green fleet policy, because we want this specifically mentioned in the green fleet policy.
Great, thanks, Ellie. So this is here at Climate Smart, because the Climate Smart is advisory. And so we are looking for input on both the legislation, the proposed legislation here, and also the policy itself. From here, we'll take the input of Climate Smart Kingston. This will also be presented to the Conservation Advisory Council in early May, who has an air quality subcommittee. So in relationship to that, it will be presented formally to the CAC for comments. As Ellie said, it was given and shared with the comptroller, the parking department, and the mayor for review. And all those comments will be put together for final presentation to the Common Council for adoption of this, once we all come to an agreement on what we want this to be. And then the policy, and so ideally then this anti-idling legislation would get adopted, would go into the policy, and the policy would be an internal policy that the mayor would sign off on. So I want to open it up for discussion or questions, clarification. Ellie did the lion's share of all of this. She did inherit it from Sean, but she did a great job presenting it also. So I don't know if anyone has questions or concerns. We can go back and look at certain sections.
I have a quick question. I thought I heard you say it was only for city vehicles, but now I'm looking at it and it seems like it's for any vehicle. Which is it? It's for any vehicle in Kingston that doesn't fall into one of those exceptions? Or is it just for city vehicles?
The anti-idling legislation is for all vehicles in the city of Kingston.
Great. Okay.
The policy itself is an internal policy. So in the anti-idling section, I did indicate that anti-idling, hold on, let's go down to it, that it should be, that it mandates that city employees must be doing this. It's pretty much just,
that's where I saw it. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty much just like regurgitating everything, but you know, an additional mandate so people are actually following it.
Thank you. Okay, that's why I was, okay, that's very clear. Thank you.
Other comments, questions, concerns? Dan, we had a question for you. Ellie and I did. We were wondering how idling would come into play with people's pets. So if someone has their dog in the car over the summer and says to you, I had to run into Hannaford, it was hot, I left my air conditioning on. Do you think that there should be some sort of specific call out for pets? I don't know if how that plays into things, and you're muted, by the way, if that plays into things here in Kingston at all. If it's a concern, if we should be thinking about it. Dan, you're muted. Oh, you can't. What do you need me to do? You want me to unmute you? I don't think that's a thing.
I think he's calling in. Are you calling in, Dan?
Yeah, you should be good.
There.
Oh. Hmm. While Dan's figuring that out, does anyone else have any other questions or concerns? Any sections you want clarification on, or?
I had a question.
Okay.
Did you have any metrics attached to the idling and the fuel consumption for greenhouse gases? So like the carbon dioxide equivalent?
Nothing in here, but I did draft a letter to the council that gives like a really rough statistic that I found on a few, government websites that says approximately 10 minutes of idling releases 1 pound of carbon dioxide. And that's why we went with the 10 minutes, because it's, I feel like a good, benchmark. Nothing in this though. And I could add more specifics if we think it's necessary.
It might be a helpful metric to add.
Okay.
I'm not sure where the, generally speaking, where like the power to regulate idling comes from, but I know for at least like with, sulfur dioxides and NOx and SOx are a regulatable gas, and so is, carbon dioxide at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's the
Yes. So
like the angle through which you are trying to push like the law.
yeah, so the New York State legislation is pretty much written as an air quality thing.
Right.
But then I looked at all of the anti-idling legislations across the state, like municipality to municipality, and they vary. There's some that are actually about noise pollution. There's some that are about, I want to say carbon dioxide. I can't say with certainty it's about carbon dioxide. But I know the New York State legislation, like the heavy duty legislation, is about air quality.
Okay, so yeah, all the above.
Yeah.
Noise, air quality, and climate potential.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Add section about, okay.
What was the other one?
Climate. I have all that in the letter I drafted, Julie. Did I send that to you? I don't know if I sent that to you.
Not quick enough that I'd be able to find it.
All right, it's okay. I'll just I'll probably just like squish it down into some little into like a paragraph and add it in.
Okay. Other comments? Dan, do we got you yet? Do we have you?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Excellent.
Hmm.
I didn't hear anything before. Something got disconnected, so I've kind of been in the dark for like 5 minutes.
Oh, did you hear Ellie's presentation?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I heard everything up to there. For some reason, the microphone on my phone wasn't working. I
Oh.
heard up to the question you were asking about the pets and vehicles, and then something cut out.
Okay, yeah, well then, we then gave you time to check in, and Dan was just asking about metrics about air quality and noise. So what I was wondering is, if you experience a lot of times when people are leaving their pets and vehicles and leaving their vehicles idling. In which
We
case,
don't
should we
run into
address
that. Yeah, we don't run into that situation often. But I mean, I think in that situation, I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but probably the safety of the animal should be first.
Sure,
That's what I said.
Absolutely.
I said you shouldn't be leaving your dog in the car like that anyway.
right, and I actually don't know, I wasn't familiar if there is state or local legislation about leaving pets in cars. I thought there maybe was. So that really should,
I think you're allowed to, if there's a pet, and it's a New York state law, I think if there's a dog in the car that's, even if the window's cracked, you're allowed to break the window to rescue the animal.
Right.
So I think
Yeah,
you should
I mean-
put the legislative in there, because I could see, or the language in there, I could see people being like, well, what about pets? And just to cover that, I think you should include something with that language. Like
That-
saying it's okay.
Exception?
in the exceptions, like,
Yes, is it okay to do that? Because otherwise, if they think it's not allowed, then, someone could break their car window.
well, because if we don't say something, someone could say, I was worried about getting a ticket for leaving my car idling, so I left my dog in my car
Yeah,
without idling it.
Hmm.
If there's already some kind of rule on the books saying you shouldn't leave your pet in your car at all, then that might preempt the need to give an exception, because like, what is your dog doing in the car?
there's no rule that you can't leave it in the car. You have to either leave the air on, or it depends about the degrees outside. It's very particular.
People leave their pets in the cars and oftentimes with the air conditioning on. That's a reality. And I don't know of any rule against it. I just am wondering who these idling police are, walking around taking timers to people's idling.
It would be
That would
Dan,
come under Dan.
Dan and his team.
Dan?
Yeah, so the majority we have a system in our handhelds that we can mark a car and then go back and track it. So it would be set on a timer. So it's not as if the enforcement officer would have to stand there and watch the car for the entire time. They
Yeah.
can put it in our handheld, continue to go about their job, and then when they get alerted by their machine, go back and see if the vehicle's still there.
Hmm.
And so that's how you would prove it? Because someone could say, I just got it.
Correct.
Okay,
Right, exactly. So when they walk by the vehicle, they would mark it in their machine, and we would have a log in our handheld that showed that the enforcement officer came by a car at 5:30, and they came back at 5:45 and it was still running.
I almost feel like there should be an extension for an animal in a car. And, people normally don't spend more than 20 minutes, I'm gonna say, running in for something.
And did I miss, was there a mention of just instead of animals, people?
Just what?
Of people, like children, or just a passenger who is waiting in the car?
we had that conversation too, Ally, right?
Or
Yeah, so
kids?
Dan and John both told me that parking enforcement does not ticket an occupied vehicle, just for the safety of the parking department, the employees of, Dan's employees, just to avoid any potential confrontation. So it's not necessarily an issue, I don't think. Right, Dan?
Yeah, not for the parking department. Yeah, we split our duties internally. So if an occupied vehicle would be something handled by the police department.
So Ellie, does it say in here, where does it say in here? Unoccupied.
I didn't put it in there because it is, standard procedure of the parking department anyway. I can put unoccupied in there.
I think we should be explicit.
I thought that to keep consistency with the rest of Kingston's, parking legislation, there is no indication of occupied versus unoccupied for, say, an expired meter in any of our resolutions or legislation or in the code. So I left it out for consistency. If you want, I could put it in though.
It's really up to Dan.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so that's a good question, right? So like if you are parked at a meter and your time is expired and you're sitting in your car, it shouldn't matter whether you're sitting in your car or not, your time is expired.
That's right.
Right.
But that goes to the police. That doesn't go to parking. Right?
Well, so it's an internal policy that protects in the safety of our enforcement officers, right? So, they're obviously not trained police officers where they have, body armor on, when they have a camera, right? So we try to avoid situations that could be confrontational. And as you can imagine, if somebody's sitting in their vehicle and they get a ticket for an overtime meter, when the enforcement officer's right there, that's a higher probability of an altercation. So that's something that we do internally to protect our enforcement officers. Now, if there was a situation where an officer came across a vehicle that was occupied, they could report it to KPD and they would come issue the ticket. So, I mean, if you're talking about the designation on whether, occupied versus non-occupied, if we're silent to it, we can continue to enforce it as we do other parking regulations in the city of Kingston and leave it up to the staff to handle it as they see appropriate. But I mean, ultimately it's up to you guys.
I also feel like if we indicate, if we put occupied or unoccupied in the legislation, people are going to look at that and they'll be like, oh, I can sit in my car as long as I'm in the car and I can leave the windows down and the AC blasting and play my music for 2 hours, because it's written in there. They're like, oh, I'm not going to get a ticket if I'm in the car. Where if you kind of leave it like out, it's up to the parking department and the police officers whether or not they can sit in their car for that time and idle. It's not our jurisdiction.
Well, so let's look at this from a perspective of city staff, right? So this one says all city employees in city-owned vehicles at any time or in personal vehicles while on city property during work shifts shall remain in compliance with this resolution, which prohibits the idling of all vehicles, medium light duty vehicles within the city of Kingston for more than 10 minutes. So if a DPW foreman is at a work site on a call, or they are overseeing a work site and they're sitting in their vehicle for more than 10 minutes and it's idling, that's saying that they cannot do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's saying that they can't do that. Whether they're gonna get reprimanded for that, probably won't, because they're a DPW employee, but it's definitely like against our policy.
Well, give them all electric cars. Can we idle our electric vehicles when we're driving electric?
Well, then you're gonna use your battery, and then when you charge the battery, they get all the electricity from coal. It's just one big cycle, so don't idle.
I mean, I think we need to be specific about this one, because if you're a police officer, you are sitting in an idling vehicle.
There's an exemption for that in the legislation, because they're performing auxiliary functions when they're sitting idly in their vehicle.
So So construction is also an exemption.
These are exemptions that I pulled from a variety of anti-idling legislations across the state, but it also says, such as, so it leaves room for interpretation.
I wonder if you should put those, where's that exemption section?
It's up at the top.
Okay.
What if it's winter, 20 degrees, and you're picking up your friend at the bus station? And it's so cold, and you need to run the heat.
Well, I don't know. I mean, idling is really bad for the environment. It's really bad for your car also. It's detrimental to the engine. I mean, idling in general isn't good. You're not going to get a ticket, because you're in an occupied vehicle, but I just feel like it's really important to regulate this, because it's crucial for climate action planning. You can't have all these cars emitting all this like carbon dioxide. And it's crucial for air quality too, like Dan was saying, the little particulates in the exhaust. Car exhaust is also a known carcinogen. So it's just all around a bad thing.
Okay, so other thoughts, comments, concerns, questions? Ally, did we have another question for Dan, or did we cover that already? No, we wanted to talk to him about the pets. I thought there were two things we wanted to ask him, and I can't remember what the other one was.
I don't think I did.
Okay. So I'm not hearing anything else. I mean, at this point, Climate Smart can either say, we've provided input, so be it. The Climate Smart Commission could, someone could make a motion to submit official support for this, or not support if the commission doesn't support it. Or there could be no further action and the input can be noted as taken. Is there anything in particular that this commission would like to do?
Seems to me that it would be appropriate to support this as a commission. I would be inclined to do that.
Okay,
So I would as well.
okay. Betta is saying support.
Yeah, support.
Do we need a formal motion? I can make a motion.
Support.
Yep, so to even entertain this, let's entertain a motion. So go ahead, Cal.
Great. So I will make a motion that the commission officially supports the anti-idling policy as laid out here, as well as the green fleet policy as laid out here.
Okay, so there's a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
I heard Roberto. So let's have discussion. Any discussion or concern about that?
Can I abstain?
You can vote how you want.
Okay, I want to abstain.
Who's
Any
abstaining?
questions, Melissa? Or
I don't know if I'm a fan. I don't want to drag this out because I know we've been meeting a long time about this one thing. I wasn't a fan of like the city employees might get a break because they work for the city, but like if someone, I don't know, that whole language about like officers being able to deal with it on a case-by-case basis. I don't know if I agree with that part of everything, but maybe I didn't understand that part also.
So there's no like breaks being cut for like, a city employee. Pretty much the Green Fleet policy mandates that they have to follow the anti-idling legislation.
But like if they're eating lunch in their car on a hot day and the air's on, they won't necessarily get ticketed.
Well, technically what they're doing is a ticketable offense.
Mhm.
And it's defined as a ticketable offense in both the policy and in the resolution. It is then up to the judgment of parking enforcement and the police officers, whether or not they will be ticketed.
Okay, because you're not
Yes.
putting the language in here.
Which
Right.
language?
Like you're not putting specifics about unoccupied or occupied vehicle or
Yeah,
anything like that.
yeah. That's why we're leaving out the occupied versus unoccupied language in the resolution, because we want it to be applicable to everybody. But because of this internal policy with the city of Kingston, we can't necessarily say, Dan, go give that guy a ticket. Like, we can't say that. I mean, it is about the safety of the ticketing officers,
Mhm. Okay.
Okay, any other discussion?
Yeah, one question before we vote is, are we approving this in principle, subject to further changes that could be made? Or is this it? Like what we see is what we're supporting?
Well,
Um,
I'll probably make some edits before, we pass it around to other people.
Yeah, right, because it's gonna go to the CAC and, Lorraine and that committee may weigh in over there. I don't know, Common Council may weigh in and edit, Corp Council. So how am I wording the resolution? We're supporting it in principle?
that's up to Cal. Cal made the motion.
I would say, yeah, let's say we're supporting it in principle.
Okay.
Since we don't have the exact wording yet.
Right. That way we can, if it changes and it comes back to us, we can weigh in again, or that one of the other boards can weigh in. Okay, sounds good.
Roberto, are you okay? Since you seconded, you're okay with that?
I'll second it. Second.
Okay.
I will second, yes.
Okay, so we're still on discussion. Is there any other discussion? I'll call for the vote. All in favor of supporting the city's proposed green fleet policy and anti-idling legislation, please say aye or give me a thumbs up.
Okay.
Aye.
Okay, Betta, I'm taking yours as a yes since you said support. Okay, all opposed? And anyone abstaining?
Okay, got it.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you very much to Ellie and to Dan and folks who put this in. Ellie, I'll send you these couple comments from here, and then we will present this to Conservation Advisory Council on May 11th and gather any other comments from there. So thank you, everyone.
Sounds good.
Okay, moving on to the climate action plan. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Climate action plan update. And Dan, you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting if you don't want to. You're welcome to head out. You're also welcome to stay as long as you want to, of course.
Yeah, Dan, thank you for being on the meeting. Appreciate it.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
So the Climate Action Plan 2030 update. Last week, we had a town hall to provide updates on the survey results and to talk about kind of next steps. We had a good turnout, and the survey results are all online at Engage Kingston, and you can see them there. Now, what is happening from now to the middle of May is that Citizens for Local Power is hosting small meetings, focus meetings on specific topics like transportation, like food systems, like energy, I think environmental justice. And they're going to be posting those meetings so folks can attend. And then I'm going to be hosting our next Climate Action Plan Project Advisory Committee meeting in mid-May so that all of that input can be provided to the Project Advisory Committee meeting, Project Advisory Committee. And from there, Cadmus will take all of that information, all of the public community engagement input, take that together with their findings, and in the end of May, the Project Advisory Committee is going to have a meeting to take all that together with a matrix of prioritization of different actions related to things like community engagement based on that action, feasibility, cost, timeline, all these different factors, and we'll hone in on the top 10 actions that will be included in the next climate action plan. And then Cadmus will take that information and draft the plan. So that is where that is. You still have time to provide input, certainly,
Mhm.
at Engage Kingston / Climate Action Plan. If you have, of course, any concerns or issues or thoughts, you can email me directly. And I guess that's where we are. Any other input on the climate action plan or questions or concerns about where that process is? Thank you for those of you who have been participating. It's been very exciting so far. All right, so then going on to refrigerants, any update on refrigerants from Dan?
Yes, the audit of the city-owned assets is complete. As far as anything we could find that was a split system, or chiller or package or rooftop unit. We didn't feel the need to try to capture like refrigerators and I did capture, we captured some vending machines, but they're very special case and I don't believe they're that prone to leaking.
I didn't even think vending machines wasn't even on my radar.
Anything that keeps some like drinks cold.
Oh, cold, the drink type, not the snack type.
Yeah. Beverage vending machines, yeah.
Wow.
They're very small. But across all the city assets, the buildings, like 325 pounds of R22 based equipment and about 80 pounds of equipment, 410A. If all of that were to suddenly be released into the environment, that would be like 300 to 400 tons of global warming potential, so carbon dioxide equivalent. If just 1% of that is to leak, it's 3 tons, 4 tons. So from a greenhouse gas auditing point of view, if the city of Kingston is doing that, if you want to make assumptions about what sort of leaks there might be citywide, you could put that number into a greenhouse gas inventory for fugitive emissions if you assume 1% leakage rate. The other way to try to calculate that would be to internally, find every vendor that that the city has ordered refrigerants from and just get a tab of a quantity and the types for the year, and try to track down any outside contractors that maybe do work on behalf of the city. And you'd really have to, that'd be an effort to track down that information, unless it's all neatly compiled somewhere by the city.
I don't know.
So whomever does purchasing for the city, then they might be the best candidate to ask. Is there, who are the vendors that we work with to purchase refrigerants, or contractors who do work on HVAC equipment?
So that is a pretty critical piece to our inventory then, that needs to be done.
You either make assumptions based on the volumes that you have out in the city, but that's just an assumption, or the real way to do it would be to track down every pound of refrigerant purchased by the city and presumed fugitive. It's a tricky one. It's a tough accounting problem.
It is a tricky one. I tend to not like to make assumptions about anything and like to have data to prove everything, but
Sure. You could say if there was a record somewhere in the city that you bought 2 5-pound tanks, it doesn't and they were put into a piece of equipment. It doesn't necessarily mean that it was replacing 10 pounds that had leaked out. Perhaps it was a new piece of equipment and the lines needed charging. But if it was, say, like at the police station, the rooftop unit, it's probably like 20 years old. That's not a new piece of equipment. So if they're charging that, then you can probably safely assume that whatever they're charging has escaped over the course of time. But that's a lot of minutia to try to track.
It is a lot. And if it didn't come from a refrigerant, like clear vendor that would be clear, I don't even know how we would do that. Unless we're literally only searching by vendor or going into each department and asking for somebody who's been there a long time that remembers purchases. Like how else would we do that?
If somehow it's like a very centralized thing that the city does, if the city has a purchasing department and everything goes through them,
Yeah.
that would make it easier. But if, say, like if the fire station's just responsible for calling a repair person, then I don't know how you track that down between all the different buildings. If there's building managers, if someone who runs one of the neighborhood centers is just in charge of getting things fixed.
Well, but I mean, all purchasing does go through through the purchasing department, no matter what it is. But what I'm saying is, like, I don't know how we would efficiently do that.
It's not efficient unless somehow it's been coded all this time to go back through records and to try to do that. But so maybe the thing to do then is to speak with the purchasing department and have a conversation with them about, the importance of tracking refrigerants, and say, every time we purchase refrigerants, we should track it or code it somehow going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, moving forward would be certainly easier than figuring out what happened up till now. I don't even know if we have any kind of coding system like that based on, I don't know enough about our purchasing to know if we code stuff.
It depends on your system.
I hope we do, but maybe not. Okay, so Ellie and/or I can look into that. And if that seems like a dead end, we're going to have to go the assumption route.
That's what most people do.
I think we should just go the assumption route and get past my need for accuracy in all moments.
Yeah, you're gonna have to turn that switch off and say, hey, we have 100 pounds out in city-owned assets, and if we assume it's 1% leakage across board, this is what our climate, our carbon dioxide liability is.
Okay.
I'm wondering if you have invoices for repairs that would show when the contractor showed up. I'm gonna guess you're still using R22 Freon, and there would be an invoice for that. That's how I track it on buildings that I manage.
Right, and so I don't think it would be hard to figure out, like, through the DPW garage what we've done, or through maintenance contracts that we have, or if I can search through certain heating and cooling companies. But like, if the parks guys went to pick up an air conditioner from Herzog's because they had to replace an old one, like that, how would I even?
How would you? Yeah. You would, because on a window.
Thousands of dollars from Herzog's.
Yeah, it only worked on split systems. I'm only working on split systems. I don't try to track it on window units. No.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of window units. I don't think they're that prone to leak until they get thrown into a dumpster, and then they
right.
definitely
Typically, yeah.
Well, let's give us a little bit to do a little bit of due diligence to figure out if this is even a ridiculous.
Yeah, it depends on what the
Action.
The city's purchasing system is capable of, how rudimentary or how deep down you can drill. No one really wants to go back through folders of invoices or receipts with somebody's hand scrawled, 5-pound tank. That's onerous.
All right, so we'll get back to you on that.
How many years of data do you want?
Good question.
That's what I was gonna say too, is like maybe just spot checking a few years, like the last couple, and see if it's within plus or minus 1%. And if it seems like it's supporting the assumption, then we can go with that. But if it's wildly off, then maybe we would dig deeper.
Yeah,
But just a
start with 1 year. If you can get 1 year.
Maybe 2. Yeah,
And-
last year was a little bit of a weird year.
Sure, a lot of unoccupied buildings. Although you never know, people might come back and find that equipment has gone flat
Right.
after being kind of neglected for a year.
Yeah.
Which would indicate, clear indication of leaks.
All right, that's a good suggestion, Maya. So we'll go back 2 years, see how that relates to the assumption, and go from there.
Yeah, that's fair. Look for 1 year from a typical year. Going
Okay.
backwards, and then going forwards, just speak to the purchasing department about, is there a way to somehow centralize or track that?
Okay.
When I do it from BARD, it's a little bit easier because I know we purchase from one vendor only. For for most HVAC equipment.
Okay.
That's it for city assets.
Okay.
The 2 other pillars of the Climate Smart Commission were trying to wrap our brains around curbside pickup and the chain of custody from the curb to reclamation, and then the legislative piece, updating the actual city regulation. So updating it from Montreal Protocol terms to Kigali Protocol terms.
Okay. I see.
I think I've probably said that now like several meetings in a row.
It's okay.
Sorry. So we just have to try our hand at revising some legislation.
Okay, so what do you need for that?
Maya found the code and this the regulations in the city code. We have it saved somewhere, so it's really just somebody taking their hand at rewriting it, updating it.
Okay. Is that something either of you want to do?
We could take a look at it. If we bring edits here, what's the process after that? Does it go to the commission or is it like what happens if we have suggestions for edits?
So this is for a policy that we want to adopt through the council.
So there's city
It's
code
regulation.
that's some of it talks about Freon, and so updating the code to reflect refrigerants instead of a brand name.
Right. So Kevin, actually, let's go to Kevin on this because there's this, well, Kevin, are you familiar with changing the code, the process about changing the code?
Changing the code, I think that would go to the council, wouldn't it? That wouldn't be a charter change. No, this would just be a code change. I'm not sure if how many readings you have to have on that, though. That I'd have to review.
Yeah, so I would say that what would happen is on our end, we would, oh, Ellie, you just changed the code.
Yeah, I just did
Yeah,
that.
yeah, right, okay.
So I
Yeah,
did that
we'll
with
do the
Stretch,
next
and
year.
then I did that with the EV charging station working with.
It's
It's pretty simple. I mean, you write Maya and Dan, if you want to send me what you got, and then I can structure it into legislation. I've done I don't know, 3 or 4 at this point. I did Stretch, I did the EV charging stations, I did anti-idling. I can do it.
Okay, I'll pull out what we found, and I can share a Google folder with you with a couple of the files that look relevant, and then our recommendations for edits.
Yeah, changing the
Yeah.
code is So if the section of the code was adopted as a law, it requires a 1-month public comment period, but if it was adopted as an ordinance, it can just go straight through the council. All they got to do is approve it, and then it's like a quick change.
Yeah.
It depends on what the section of the code looks like. I mean, I can look at it, but it's not, I mean, it's not that tedious.
Great. Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's not a huge section of regulation. It just needs some tweaks, a little bit
Yeah.
of updating.
Yeah, it's not that complicated.
okay, so Maya and Dan are gonna work out the language of what they want changed. They're gonna send that to Ellie. Ellie's gonna format it the way it needs to be formatted, and then
we got to send it to Corporation Council, and then it gets put on the agenda, and the same thing we did with Stretch. Only thing is, it depends on how that section of the code was adopted originally, whether or not we need a comment period.
I would say, well, Maya and Dan, do you think that after Ellie puts it in the legislation proposal, we bring it back to this commission to approve before we bring it to the council? We could do that at the end of May on the 26th and then still get it to the council by May 28th. It would be the same timeline whether we brought it to this commission or not. So I think we should probably put it up, if you're on that timeline of within the next month.
It's not a huge amount of effort.
Okay, so let's do that. I'll put it on next month's agenda.
You lose Maya?
We lost Maya.
Lost Maya.
Do you know what?
Oh, okay, good. Maya's gonna do it then. She's got
Do you know
this.
Sorry, do you know what the section number of the code is? Because I can look at it right now.
I have to, hang on.
That's okay. You could it's fine. Just send it to me.
Well, we have a share file going with everything that we've collected so far. We'll just bring you in.
Okay, so we'll check back in on this at next month's meeting. You guys will connect in the interim. Okay, excellent. Anything else on refrigerants? Oh, Cal. Did we lose Cal? Cal, did you want to speak to this note in the chat?
I just dropped it on the chat because I remember Manager Joe on Monday at the Ulster County Climate Smart meeting. It's like, oh, Cal, I have to remember to tell you. She hasn't sent me any details, but she said somebody, this really feels like playing telephone, but she was like, somebody sent her a message about trying to like drop off an old AC unit somewhere in Kingston to be disposed of. And they said, just toss it in the dumpster without venting the refrigerants properly. And so they told her, but I don't know who this is or where it was. So when I have that information, I'll pass it along. But I just thought I'd like, let me mention it so I don't forget. So I'll reach back out to her and be like, what happened? Who?
Great, get us the details.
I will mention just to create some more context, for all the anti-idling policy for it's significantly more.
We lost you. I wasn't sure if we were having a dramatic pause or if we actually lost you, but it seemed like we lost you.
Okay, sorry, I don't know what I was saying, but
You said also regarding anti-idling.
For Ellie, bringing the passion from anti-idling to controlling the city's fugitive emissions from refrigerants, the impact is, thousandfold. If we can somehow wrap our brains around managing refrigerants in the city.
She's on it. Ellie's passionate about it.
I'm on it.
Excellent.
Right.
Okay, anything else on refrigerants? Great, good work, everyone. All right, so sustainability projects. I don't know if I made this big to do the last time, but the LED project is done. It is done, people. We are complete.
Great.
Tomorrow, I have the transfer of all the final materials. They are demobilizing, and it is complete. So I think that Ellie was going to be gathering the data about pre-LED and post-LED greenhouse gas emissions.
I'm having some trouble with that. Talk to Maureen in DPW. The account number that I have, when I put it into the usage lookup, it says no activity at this account. It's another one of those. Same thing happened when I tried to do wastewater treatment plant. So it might be a slower process. I might have to go through all the bills individually for like the year. but I'll get it.
You'll do it enthusiastically, right?
Yes, with passion.
With passion. Okay, so we'll follow up on that at a future meeting. Organics, I don't have any update besides we're continuing to trudge along on the draft. Ellie is helping us with gathering some last minute gaps in data that we needed to find. So thank you for that. I don't really have any update on the parks either. I mean, we're still kind of in this limbo waiting period until we're able to mobilize a little bit more for some of our park playground improvements. I will say that the Andretta Pool splash pad is coming along smoothly, and if you are a splash pad fan, starting on June 19th for free, you'll be able to go through the splash pad at the Andretta Pool when it is complete. I'm moving through some environmental reviews for some paving at Block Park, and that's probably it on the parks projects. We are putting out, and I'll talk about that later, I guess. That's probably it for sustainability projects themselves. Moving on to Repair Cafe. Anything, Melissa?
So I reached out to the coaches about a possible outdoor cafe. I've received responses from 3 people who are interested. If I get at least, I think 5 coaches, I'd want to host an outdoor cafe. I was thinking, the last I heard from the church, they're not willing to do outdoor events yet. They're usually our host. I was thinking, since the farmers market went so well with us tabling, of reaching out to them and maybe having a tent or 2, and more having people sign up in advance, so we have like scheduled appointments, and then just kind of sitting there. But I have to reach out to the farm people and see if they're willing to partner. But we may do I hope not this summer, because also a lot of our coaches are older and I don't want to make them work in the heat. But yeah, maybe possibly June, I'm going to say, but we'll see if I get enough people. Also, news for Repair Cafe, there's a virtual event going on. The Saturday, May 15th, from 2 to 4. It's hosted by Fix It Clinic, which is another kind of repair movement. They have a Facebook page, but if you just search Fix It Clinic, this is a virtual cafe where you sign up in advance, and then coaches they look at your stuff, help you diagnose it, and help you fix it virtually, if anybody's interested.
Cool.
But yeah.
Okay, good update. I want to continue on with outreach and education.
Yep.
Go ahead.
All right, so our survey for Earth Day didn't get as many people as I wanted. We have like 42 responses right now. If everyone in this commission did it and everyone got like their significant other or their housemates, that number could easily go up. So I'm challenging you guys. I'm leaving it open, and that's one thing I want to talk about, is how long do we want to leave it open till? I was thinking Memorial Day. I know we said Arbor Day, but I think Arbor Day is like tomorrow, or Arbor Day is sooner than, I don't know when Arbor Day is, but it's much sooner than May, end of May. So what are we thinking about that? And with that, I want to table 1 or 2 more times. And so from our responses, we actually learned, I think, some interesting data where like 45% of the people who participated were not from Kingston. So the people going to the farmer market don't live here. There's a lot of people from Newburgh. One guy mentioned he's from Newburgh and he travels here because their farmer's market isn't as great during the winter. So we have a cool farmer's market, I guess, but we didn't reach as much of the community as I wanted. There is a Midtown Makers Market that's usually once a month. So we missed the April one, but there's another one on May 15th that we could table at. And then as well, I was speaking to the new Village Coffee and Goods Refinery. I was speaking to the owners, and they would be interested in us tabling outside of their like new place. So we have 2 options before end of May if we wanted to. but that will require people's commitment and, you know, time. If you want to do more tabling.
I'm happy to do more tabling.
Okay.
I think those are great ideas.
To the point of tabling, does anyone on this call know where the Climate Smart banner is? Does anyone on this call know when the last time the Climate Smart banner was used? Karen or Melissa or Betta?
I remember tabling a very long time ago while Betta was still pregnant, at this like Halloween thing, event that Cal was at and Betta. That was the last time I tabled, but I don't know when, at the LGBTQ center. That was like years ago.
That was, I think, 2019.
That's like the
It
last
would have
time
been 2019 because 2020 was COVID year. It would have been 2019. So from that event, what did you all do with the banner? Did you give it back to me?
I think Betta took the tabling materials.
Right. The
From that
art
day.
bin and the banner.
Yeah. And the bin got back somehow. So that means the tablecloth should have gone back, right? Because all of the tabling like materials were also with that.
Okay.
I'm talking it through. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you
I
think
don't
it could have been left at the location? I mean, like, if
Is
the
that the last event we tabled at for sure? October 2019?
I mean, would we have tabled during COVID? There's nothing to table at during.
No,
COVID. That
yeah.
was- It's March of 2020. So it had to have been between October 2019 and March of 2020. And what would there have been besides? Unless we did at the, was there an indoor Made in Kingston that we went to? Did we do composting at Made in Kingston? And
We compost. I don't remember us having a table there. I remember standing by the compost zero waste stations. But I don't think we had a table.
okay. Well, then Ellie and I are gonna have to scrounge further because we cannot find that banner. And I understand fully that when there is not a good, I didn't get to make it to the farmer's market, so I didn't get to see your setup, but I feel like the banner is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the majority of people thought that, especially in the morning, thought that we were a check-in station. I think Karen said that. I had this flimsy little laminated piece of paper. It was nothing remarkable.
All right,
Yeah,
well,
I mean, we did a lot of outreach. Like I commend Betta and Joey Lynn for all of your, like we were standing in front of the table, like waving the sign and like trying to like pull people over and like, want to take a pledge? And like, you know, the community outreach was really there. We tried. I mean, and we got like 30 pledges from that day. And I have 21 photos in my phone of people that took a picture, which is cool.
yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah.
Better saying, I don't know if I had the banner last, but I'm happy to have a new one made. Well, let's let Ellie and I don't know, dig around here a little more.
So the LGBTQ center may have been the last place it was seen, because I can call them.
May have been the last.
All right, I'll give them a call, see. Maybe they have it.
Better, do you
Everyone who
remember
works
that?
there has turned
LGBTQ
over in the meantime. This is amazing.
What's that? What'd you say?
I said everyone who works there has turned over in the meantime.
Oh.
Oh,
Interesting.
right.
Good luck with that. Okay, so we'll look into it. If we can't find it, we're gonna have to just have another. Okay, so that's a very long conversation about the banner, but back to the actual tabling. It seems like there's some interest in doing that.
Yeah. And then Karen also brought up an idea of maybe, if I don't know if you want to talk about it, but the library display. You're muted. Karen, you're muted.
I thought that there is a potential for a lot of people taking that survey, for example, who come into the library. If there was some small manageable display in the library, it's just a thought.
Would they, Ellie had mentioned it to me. They're willing to give us space.
I don't know. Someone very important like Julie Noble should probably call Addie. My daughter said Addie is the person who makes those decisions. And she said that Addie, well, Addie's new, but she said that in general, nonprofits do have opportunities that way in the library.
I'll call, but what would we put there that you wouldn't also need at the table?
Well, Ellie,
We could put the QR code with instructions
Yeah.
to the survey. We could put the QR code to the Climate Smart Kingston page. We could just set up a variety of QR codes. I was thinking that for maybe like 1 week, we could have the picture frame set up, like maybe attached to something so people could just go behind it. We put it there for, I don't know, if not a week, maybe just a weekend. You know, it might be nice to have people to take their pictures there. I feel like a lot of families go to the library and kids might want to take their picture behind the picture frame, you know?
I also, I really like the ward map, you know, and
Yeah.
identifying the ward that the person is.
We could also do is somehow get a bigger one. The one that I printed was the biggest size that the printer here prints, but I'm sure that we could get like a, you know, calendar sized ward map because the picture has is a pretty high quality picture that you can zoom in very well, the one that I printed out, and I'm sure it could get, you know, pumped up a bit.
Engineering can do that for you.
All right.
Your sister department.
Yeah, my sister's in engineering.
Okay, so I will talk to the library. I'll give us permission. I'll communicate that with Ellie and you all can coordinate to put together something to put there. Melissa, you're gonna coordinate to get tabling at these other events?
Yes. Yes.
And Ellie and I are going to scrounge for a banner or order another one. And was there other things you needed answers on?
Well, as far as like presenting everything, I was gonna present it on a map. The map right now, I feel like doesn't look good because half of the people are not from Kingston. If we get maybe the final results, I'll display on a map, but for now, I'll put one of the pie charts that the Google Forms makes for you about like percentage of who participated in what category, just as like some, I don't know, promotion and some of the pictures as well. I might just create a Facebook photo album for what we have so far to like get people to keep going. But yeah, I feel like the map, I don't know if that's unfair to me to skew the data, but if I make the map now, it's not gonna, most of the dots are outside of Kingston. So I feel like it doesn't have the impact we wanted it to, or the ward-wide competition we wanted it to. But if we target people from the Midtown Market who live in Kingston, if we target village, someone going to the grocery store, you know, that's people that I'm hoping are, you know, living in Kingston, but we'll see.
And we can also look at it like whether you live inside of our political boundaries or not, as long as you're making an effort to.
That's true.
To do something, we still appreciate your effort.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And I think you should keep going with it. To your original question, definitely can't stop by Arbor Day.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, excellent.
Oh yeah, and the photo pledge, by the way, I just wanted to make sure everyone knew I made it reusable so that we could use it for other pledges in the future. Everything is Velcroed, so you can just take it off and switch it around. So it's going to be an education outreach thing for whenever we want to use it. If anybody has any ideas of future stuff, you know, Betta suggested she wanted something with renewable energy, which we didn't make one of our suggestions the first time around. So just putting that out there. Okay, I'll stop talking now.
Actually, can you give us an update on the pizza box campaign?
Oh yeah. So we actually, thanks for everyone who was able to make it to the photo event. We had a photo event with the mayor who came to Vincenzo's, and then he put that in his, you know, weekly COVID update. He put it in his weekly newsletter, and he made the city of Kingston made a post about it. So we got a lot of comments from that. So some people were, I don't know, the Facebook comments are pretty harsh, I'm not gonna lie. Some people were saying, you know, why are we spending time talking about pizza boxes, and there are bigger issues in Kingston. But, you know, overall, people are talking about it, and whether they're talking bad, they're still talking about it, so they still got the message that it's not recyclable. So that's what I'm getting out of it. But yeah, it's I saw that post was shared a bunch of times. It was shared on our Climate Smart page a bunch of times. So we're getting a lot of even like social media response and chatter. So that's good. There's still 3 places that aren't participating: Frank Guido's, Lola's, and Kingston Standard. I said this in the newsletter, and I'll say it again: we vote with our dollars. So if I feel like the people that are participating are here for the community. So look at the list of people who are participating and buy pizza from them if you are. Oh, Picnic too. So sorry, 4 places aren't participating. But yeah, it's a great campaign. Julie kind of took it over, which is a little bit of a relief. But yeah,
Thank you for all the work that you've done.
no problem.
I did, sorry to step away for a quick call, but I was told, maybe you mentioned this, about a note that was on Facebook that somebody was spreading misinformation, and I talked to Summer, our communications person, to take that down or correct them. I don't know if that happened or not. But there are naysayers, people who don't believe. We're not making this up.
Yeah.
So, just a simple thing. Okay, awesome. And you have an extra box for me, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I gotta get it to you.
Okay. Anything else on that? Thank you, everyone who was able to make it to the photo shoot. I see that the picture with all of us was not used, but it was memorable to those of us that could make it. The pizza was good.
It's on a Facebook post. It's
Oh,
not
is
in
it?
the newsletter, but yeah, it's on a Facebook post.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah.
Cal, you want to give us an update on Maritime Museum?
Sure. The museum is soft reopening to the public. You have to, I think, make an appointment to go, but they're soft reopening to the public May 1st. So that's really soon. And I was hoping to have a bunch of stuff completely finished and installed before that date, but we're still working on it. And so stuff's underway. Serena's not here tonight, but she wrote up a nice little description of what this commission is and does. And we had a little bit of a back and forth to get it trimmed down and appropriate for the spot it's going to go in, but it's done. So there will be a nice shout out to this commission for anybody who visits the museum and then goes to the exhibit and is like, dang, I really want to do something about climate. How can I get involved? This commission will be one of the places they are appointed to direct that energy if they're so inclined. There was a spot to put, I thought it would be interesting to have as an example of a climate smart community and the kind of work they do, to have like a list of the things that the commission is working on or that the city is working on for climate goals that could be updated periodically, like annually. And as I'm building it out, I think that that's not very visually engaging, so I might scrap it. But I did draft it. So,
I sent you some notes on it this afternoon, but if you
I'm so sorry. Yeah, thank
if
you.
you want to scrap it, scrap it.
Okay, yeah, I apologize if that was a bad use of your time, but it may still end up on, but I think better to send pictures. So I'm working on getting a digital frame set up that will be able to receive pictures by text and then can designate a couple of people in this group. Probably not everybody needs the login info, but a couple of people can, like whoever's doing the Facebook posts can also maybe occasionally text a picture to this frame to be part of like local climate action stuff that's happening in the area. So that's where we're at on that.
Great.
So since that is going to be opening so soon, can we add the pledge to that with the QR code and maybe a picture or two of people who took the photo pledge?
If you want to put something like that on it, there's going to be a bulletin board, and you can put like a little like note for the more permanent part that wouldn't fit because it's time bound. So yeah, if you wanted to make like a palm card size little thing to like tack up on the bulletin board, that would be a good thing to put there. Consider.
Also, the pizza box sticker could go there.
Yeah. If there's like that kind of like timely thing, like whether it's for an event or a campaign, the best thing to do would be put it on like a quarter page flyer or half page flyer and just put it on the bulletin board.
And how do we do that?
you would print it and walk in and put it there with a tack.
Are there
I think
tags
I'm gonna
there?
use
Is it BYO
Ellie.
tag?
You can bring your own tack.
Oh,
I would supply tacks, but I'm afraid kids will stab each other with them. So a lot of kids come through this museum. I'm trying not to injure them.
tag using kids. Okay. Great. So Melissa, you'll connect with Cal on that, or you'll walk in?
Yes, and Ellie has a laminator, so I'm gonna hit her up again.
Oh boy, yeah. I don't know
Yeah.
if you need to laminate it, but you certainly could.
Mhm.
That's professional.
If you
And
need
then,
a tack, you could just go. You could just knock at the office, and they would give you a tack. But I'm not.
so
Gonna,
can anybody put up anything, or does it have to get approved by like the museum people?
as of right now, there hasn't. It doesn't exist yet, so there's no policy.
Okay,
When it exists, I think the first thing to do will be to allow it to be, people put things up and we sort of trust that it's relevant and someone will periodically just check.
Okay.
But if it becomes necessary, I'm trying not to overburden the 4 volunteers keeping the museum running, but if it becomes necessary, there could be like a check before you post, but as of right now, it probably won't be.
okay.
So Ellie, if you're connecting with, or Melissa, if you're connecting with Ellie and you guys are figuring that out, can you grab a sticker grab a pizza sticker and put that there too?
If you end up having questions about how to do anything specifically related to the museum, I'm just going to drop the email address I've been using for that work on the chat again so that I can stay organized.
Let me grab
Okay.
it.
Okay. Also, if you guys need tacks, I have lots of them.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you.
No, I'm not offering you tacks. I'm saying to Melissa and Ellie, if you need 2 tacks, I have 2 tacks for you. 2 that I'm offering.
NG.
Okay, anything else on outreach and education? Beta Green Business Challenge, not sure how that would happen because that is not connected with sound. So
I have a little bit of information because I took notes at the Ulster meeting.
great.
It sounds like it's been redubbed the Business Sustainability Checklist, and they are working out the implementation plan.
Okay, and I thought there was something in the Green New Deal about Green Business Championship.
There might be. That I don't know. I have that one piece of information.
Okay, well, but if you can hear us, you want to type something in the chat, great. If not, we will catch you at the next meeting and you can fill us in there, or you can text me and I will dictate to the committee here what is the update there. Otherwise, we are going to move on from that then, I guess. Zoning updates, Kevin?
Yeah, it was the zoning rewrite with Dover Cole was approved by the committee on March 31st, and then it went to the full council where it was also approved. So it's pretty much happening. I don't have a time frame though right in front of me as to when the first what the next step is. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So we'll follow up on that. And there is a committee that had been involved, like a sort of an ad hoc committee of a couple of the commissioners, including myself, that were not commissioners, task force members, rather, that were on the zoning task force. Then that we've been meeting separately and following that up. And I think Tanya Garment is involved with that, and Andrea Shout, and Council Member Jeffrey Morrell. So that is to be continued.
Okay, great. Let us know when you need input on that.
Mhm.
Anyone have any renewable energy updates? Okay, anyone have any stretch code? Ellie, do you have any stretch code updates?
Stretch code passed unanimously. That was last March. I think it was at the same meeting as the zoning thing went through. But yeah, stretch code passed unanimously. I'm just working on one final form right now that I got to submit before May 8th, and then we're completely good to go.
Oh, great. And I just got a note from Betta about the Solarize Community Ulster launch. I don't know if folks have seen a note about that. Did I circulate something about that? Maybe not. The county is doing a Solarize campaign, and they are having a webinar tomorrow at 2:30, and she's going to email everyone the details of that. So you can participate if you would like. Go to that webinar. Ellie, I know I shared that information with you. Maybe if you have availability tomorrow at 2:30, it would be good to hop on that to see if we can do a campaign too.
I have my GPI call tomorrow at, I might be able to hop off. I'm not actually on any of the GPI projects, so.
All right, we'll see. Okay, solid waste management. I've been working on a new recycling flyer. So the old flyer was this. This is the fridge flyer, which had this is what goes in your yellow bin, this is what goes in your blue bin, this is what goes in your trash. And we are working on a new one because there are lots and lots of things that should not be going in your recycling that people are having a hard time with. So the new one is going to be also two-sided. One side's going to be similar with this is the yeses, and the other side is going to be all the different things that should be thrown away and not be recycled, unfortunately. So I am actually, this is in draft form still. I reviewed it with the sanitation department today, and those should be coming to your doorstep hopefully by the end of May. And of course, we're doing the pizza box campaign. I don't think there's any new business. Either Serena's not here for public safety, so I don't have that update. Betta or Cal, I guess. Anything else from the Ulster County Climate Smart Committee?
I have a couple notes. There was the whole Ulster County Green New Deal, which is cool. It includes a Solarize Ulster County Community Solar Campaign, which is really neat. I don't remember if that got sent out to this group yet.
Yeah, Betta's going to share that.
Perfect. I don't remember which municipality, but somebody is using low carbon concrete to redo their basketball court, which was cool. And I remembered the talk about doing a skate park in Kingston and wondered if maybe that would be a good application for low carbon concrete. Just a thought. That's the only stuff that hasn't already been mentioned.
It's a good idea.
I took.
I mean, I don't know really much.
Also, the composting law is in effect. I have written down with no context.
Thank you. I saw a webinar or something come through about the low carbon concrete. I got to take a look at that to understand if skate parks would have a good application there. So thanks for
I'd be able to help with that if you want.
Okay.
I unexpectedly had to learn a bunch about low carbon cement for the museum. So I might be able to send information.
Great. Okay, I'll follow up with you about it. Any other announcements, communications, events, or updates? What can we post on social media? Anything that we discussed? Or Melissa, you have enough stuff for social
Sounds
media?
like, yeah, the solar workshop tomorrow.
Okay.
And then, yeah, just the Earth Day tabling and our survey continuing and whatever else I find.
Okay. And as always, if anyone has anything, send them over to Melissa so she can post. Is there any other business? If not, I need a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn this meeting.
So Melissa's finger first. Karen, you can be a second.
Okay,
All in favor of adjourning?
okay.
Okay. We are adjourned at 6:42. Thank you so much, everyone. Happy
Okay,
Arbor Day,
yes,
and we will see you in May.
okay.
Good night.
Everybody.